It looked like the push that was heard around the world has cost WNBA player Chennedy Carter her career.
Chennedy Carter abruptly ended her career on public television. She went from being a WNBA star to a league outcast in an instant. All it took was one push on Caitlin Clark to cause her career to collapse. But this is where things get very interesting. It's not just about the push. Carter has been a walking catastrophe, battling with her former teammates and now losing her fourth team.
I don't know why people be so surprised. Oh my God, Chennedy Carter deserved a play. Why? Like, did y'all forget all of the events that transpired last year with her and Caitlin Clark? And then she refused to own up to what she did? What organization want to deal with that?
For groups imagine being so gifted and poisonous that 4 teams looked at you and said, "Thank you, but no thanks." Some may argue that it was merely a shove, but the Chicago Sky had a different perspective and didn't give her a long-term contract or a core designation. Now she's gone. Can you imagine losing your job for one careless move?
Now, we all remember what happened on that fateful day last year, bro, when she took it upon herself to put her filthy thug hands on WNBA player Caitlin Clark. I knew then her future was not going to be very bright, bro.
The Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever were back at it, their rivalry as fierce as ever, and the entire arena felt like it was holding its breath. Let's examine how Carter went from rising star to radioactive in record time. As she grew increasingly irate with each play, you could see it in her eyes. Carter suddenly lost it and threw Clark so hard that the entire arena fell silent, as if someone had pressed the mute button. Clark was on fire, taking bullets left and right.
Look at what just transpired between Carter and Clark. I mean, that's clearly a foul.
It gets crazy at this point because Clark is simply standing there looking perplexed, as if something actually just happened, while the referees are standing there in amazement. It's obvious now that this wasn't just any push. Carter threw her entire career off a cliff, and believe me, you'll want to hear what happened next, because this is where things really start to fall apart for Carter. One witness claimed that Clark looked as though she couldn't believe what had just happened.
I mean, that's clearly...
The players on the court are all frozen in place, and the audience is gaping in disbelief, as if they have just seen a ghost. You could see the rage erupting when a scout at the game remarked, "I've never seen anything like it." Can you think that a real scout would say that after all the years he has watched basketball?
So she was signed to the Chicago Sky with Teresa Weatherspoon, with Angel Reese, with Camila Cardoso, and, the rest of the folks. And then we get to the body check. This was originally ruled an away from the ball foul, but it was obviously a flagrant foul. It really upset a lot of people, which really escalated the issue. And it was really just poor sportsmanship on Kennedy's part.
When reporters try to question her about it, she responds, "I'm not answering any Clark questions. Talk about adding fuel to the fire." But wait, it gets even stranger. After this whole mess, Carter does nothing at all. No apology, no explanation, nothing.
That right there, I believe, was the push that altered her career. And I'm telling you right now, it is not looking good for Chennedy Carter.
Now that the WNBA officials are not playing around, they called that push a flagrant foul that was both unnecessary and reckless after taking one look at it. They said, "Can you imagine being in a league where pushing someone could be called unnecessary and reckless?" It's not like we're talking about tackle football here.
Chennedy Carter. And then what's crazy about all of this, immediately after that push, this is what she said to the media.
Kind of on the play before bumping in with Caitlin, it seemed like she turned to you a little bit after the Fever
I
score.
answered no Caitlin Clark questions.
Did she say anything to you?
I don't know what she said.
What'd you say to her?
I didn't say anything.
Here's the real kicker, though. With one push and a negative attitude, Carter goes from being a hot prospect to being radioactive, and the scouts and executives at the game are mentally crossing her name off their list faster than you can say career suicide.
Now, a lot of people was kind of surprised by this. I'm not, because I know, you know what I'm saying, what she did to Caitlin Clark was completely unnecessary. And I'm here to tell you guys, she's living with that decision today because she is without a job.
If you're asking why this is so significant, let me explain that it's about more than simply the push. It's about what it stands for. Carter not only pushed Clark, but she also pushed against everything. The WNBA is working to become a league of professionals and role models, and it is finally receiving the recognition it deserves, but Carter simply threw all of that out the window.
When Tyler Marsh did the press conference, he talked about Angel Reese, he talked about Cardoso, who I think is going to be a star in the WNBA, but he did not really mention Chennedy Carter at all, and that raised a lot of eyebrows.
You may be thinking, well, Carter made a mistake, but some team will definitely give her another chance. However, this is completely incorrect. The Chicago Sky did not merely bench Carter. They severed all ties with her, offering her no core designation, no long-term contract, and essentially saying, "Thanks for playing, now go." This is a team allowing their top scorer to leave without even attempting to get something in return, which is simply not acceptable in the WNBA.
One person said we still can't be doing this every year. Chennedy Carter is the reason WNBA won't take a risk on her.
She's so toxic now. When her agent calls, GMS won't even answer the phone. The shocking response will be how a top athlete becomes untouchable so quickly.
She gets no offer to return from the Chicago Sky, which a lot of people have been feeling by her social media posts that she got quite offended by.
It takes more than one push. Carter's past is more sinister than we initially believed. She was a gifted student who graduated from Texas A&M and was selected first overall by the Atlanta Dream. But instead of laying the foundation for a promising future, she decided to discard everything. Let's examine it.
And there has not been a peep about anywhere that she could be landing in this free agency. So a lot of people, including myself, are wondering, is she worth the risk now?
That's right back when she was with the Atlanta Dream. She got into a fight with Courtney Williams. I mean, Carter was about to throw down on the court, but remember, Courtney is one of the league's sweetest people, someone who avoids drama. So imagine being so annoying that you start a fight with her. The Atlanta Dream had no choice but to suspend Carter and then trade her.
Come on, cheer for your teammates, be a part of this team, and then ensues an altercation between the two where Chennedy Carter was sent to the locker room mid-game, of which afterwards, after the game, this is what has been reported. I guess Chennedy Carter wanted to fight Courtney Williams, like physically fight Courtney Williams, who backed away from this and was like, no way. So there was no actual physical altercation that happened.
And it didn't end there. You would think that Carter had learned her lesson when she joined the Los Angeles Sparks, but she ended up riding the bench due to, you guessed it, poor behavior. It seems like she can't help but stir up trouble wherever she goes. Take a listen to this.
Atlanta Dream did suspend her in the middle of the sophomore season, basically saying she was a detriment to the team and the team culture. So then the Atlanta Dream decided to trade her to the Sparks, the Los Angeles Sparks.
Now, you may be wondering how awful it could actually be. Well, let me tell you that one WNBA executive, I'm not making this up, said they wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. That's how toxic Carters get. The league as a whole ignores her, not just one club or general manager.
She ended up playing a lot less minutes there, and the reasoning that the Sparks were saying that she was playing less minutes was because of poor conduct, and that was the 2022 season. Then in the 2023 season, the Sparks just decided to release her in the offseason.
The Chicago Sky's decision to let Carter go without even attempting to retain her is a huge red flag that is visible from space. WNBA teams don't just let their top scorers leave for no reason. When they do, it's because of the terrible locker room problems. He would much rather have no players than deal with the drama.
None of the teams were willing to pick her up after that, so she ends up going over to Turkey, playing in Turkey, of which she balled out. So then the W team started looking at her again and being like, maybe we should give this person another chance. So she was signed to the Chicago Sky with Teresa Weatherspoon, with Angel Reese, with Camila Cardoso, and the rest of the folks.
Consider it. Without a doubt, Carter is talented, and she has the potential to finish at the rim. When she is at her best, she is practically unguardable, But none of that matters if you're a nightmare to work with, because basketball is a team sport and all the talent in the world won't save you if you can't play well with others.
I mean, look, maybe she's part of the culture problem, but that's very interesting.
What comes next for Chelsea Carter? She is currently an unrestricted free agent, but teams aren't exactly calling her because they are afraid of bringing that kind of drama into their locker room. She went from being a top draft pick to being radioactive in the league because she couldn't maintain composure on the court.
Chennedy Carter, she kept going back and forth to and from the bench, and I just kept waiting for her to come back in because she was the absolute most magnetic player on the court. She's listed at 5'9". I don't know why, in my memory she was 5'8", but she's listed at 5'9". Does not come across as tall whatsoever, but she has hops. She has finishing. She does not have a three-pointer, but the way that she moves, she's I don't know if she's the fastest guard in the league.
Let's begin with the shocking revelation. One of Carter's teammates, with whom we are speaking, claimed that she had locker room cancer and that we would be better off without her. Can you believe it? This isn't just any bench player shading. We're talking about elite players who are meant to support one another no matter what, and it gets even more juicy. The alleged co-conspirator of Angel Reese Carter unfollowed Carter on WNBA social media. That would be equivalent to changing the locks and slamming the door in someone's face. It's a public announcement that we're finished.
She can score. She can score with the lights out. I mean, she can. She's pure offense, a pure shooting guard, scoring guard, an instant offense. But if you're a team, do you really want her on the team? I wouldn't.
The Chicago Sky's decision to not offer Carter a qualifying contract is unprecedented for a player with her scoring ability. It's as if they're saying that we don't care how many points you can put up. You're not worth the headache. But wait, because it gets even more bizarre. Sources claim that some players were trying to get Carter out before the new season even began. Imagine being so toxic that your own teammates want you out before you've even put on your sneakers for the new season.
I mean, good luck. Good luck. I don't know who's going to take her. I don't know what teams are going to take her. No, I don't think she's going to the Indiana Fever. I mean, yeah, bring her in after what happened. I don't think so.
You know what's absurd? Carter is an unrestricted free agent, but her phone isn't exactly ringing off the hook. Teams are running scared about bringing that kind of drama into their locker room because it's been a long fall from being a top draft pick to being the player no one wants to touch. Her talent is off the charts, and she has skills that should have teams lining up to sign her, but instead she's radioactive and no one wants to touch her with a 10-foot hole. It's like watching a star implode in real time.
Could there be a player in Chicago she wants to get away from? Can you imagine her wanting to leave a team to get away from somebody?
You may be asking why this push is being discussed so much, but the answer is who is pushed. The INDA Fever are expected to draw over 600,000 fans this year, which is incredible. The second best attendance ever was just over 400,000 in 1999. Caitlin Clark is not just any player. She is a game changer for the WNBA, and let me tell you, what she is doing to the league is absolutely mind-blowing.
But I just don't know how much wiggle room she has with her off-court behavior and the chances any teams want to take on that. I don't think that the Golden State Valkyries would take a chance to muddy up the vibe of the locker room, because the locker room seems to have cultivated kind of like a great presence from everybody that they've signed. And the Golden State Valkyries are a team that seems to be this future destination teams for a lot of players, and I think they are very much cultivating and working on that brand. So I don't see the Golden State Valkyries wanting to take that chance.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Keep in mind that those WNBA jerseys don't sell jokes well. Clark, just to calm everyone down, regular season merchandise sales are more than 500% higher than they were the previous year. You know what though? Whose jersey is selling more quickly than free tacos at a basketball game? Caitlin Clark's is responsible for a 1,000% increase in player merchandise sales overall. It's not a typo. 1,000%.
John, Chennedy Carter, she still can't find a job. You was right. You remember you said a couple weeks ago, she's pretty much banned. Ain't nobody gonna take it. Because I was right, bro. It's common sense. Somebody said Chennedy Carter is such a great player. but she needs to work on whatever she's dealing with. The Sky didn't even want her back, and that speaks volumes because she was the best shooter on their team.
You may be thinking, well, so she sells tickets and jerseys, big deal, but it goes much beyond that. Clark is attracting fans who have never seen women's basketball before, and she is not only expanding the WNBA, but also changing it. When Carter pushed Clark, she pushed against the league's overall future.
A lot of people was predicting that she's going to go to the Aces. I told y'all early on, I don't think no WNBA team is going to sign her. For Chicago to get rid of her and not get nothing speak volumes. That's how bad they wanted her gone. That set the tone in her free agency to let them know we don't care about her. We're just going to release her. We don't want nothing for her. She got to go.
Additionally, the WNBA is not playing around. Instead, they are discussing tougher regulations, higher fines, and a crackdown on player behavior. Maybe even longer suspensions. Can you imagine that Carter's pressure could potentially alter the WNBA's entire rulebook? That's how big of a concern this is. But let's return to Clark for a moment. Her influence is so great that it's making the league reevaluate everything we're discussing. Player compensation and sponsorship agreements, TV contracts, all things considered. The decision makers are realizing that Clark has the ability to change the WNBA's financial future, which will benefit all of the league's players.
If you look at this little chart right here, the Fever will have over 600,000 fans in attendance total this year. And the second best to that was in 1999 with the Washington Mystics at just over 400,000. So the Fever are going to account for over 200,000 more fans this year to their games than any other team, not only this year in 2024. You can see the Liberty are third on this list and the Liberty are third, fourth, and fifth on this list. But those are the only two teams that are in 2024. The other highest attendance records are from 1999, 1998, and 2001. That is crazy.
Imagine being so good that you force an entire professional sports league to up its game. That's what Clark is doing. She's changing the game off the court as well. That's why Carter's push was so big of a deal. It wasn't just unsportsmanlike behavior. It was a threat to the league's brightest star and its future. The real question is, can Carter's career survive this, or is she done for good? The league can't afford to have players jeopard that Carter pushed against the wave of progress that Clark represents, and in a league that is finally experiencing explosive growth, that's a risky move.
The top-selling WNBA player merch, Caitlin Clark, #1 in jersey sales, Angel Reese 2, Sabrina 3.
With just one push, Carter's entire world fell apart, leaving her WNBA future in shambles as teams shunned her. Carter may need to look abroad because of her toxic personality and attitude problems. She has played in Turkey before and did well, but even international teams may be reluctant to sign her because of her reputation. There is hope that some players have recovered from similar circumstances, but it will require serious effort, a sincere apology, a change in attitude, and likely a lot of grailing. Carter must demonstrate that she has learned her lesson and is prepared to work as a team player. Let's see how you build on this. Charter Jets. What does this mean for the future of behavior in the WNBA? Will we see more players like Clark setting positive examples, or more players with attitude issues like Carter? It's black, it's white, it's the new, it's the old, it's the she brought eyes that's all you're flying.
And wherever she goes, ratings follow. The WNBA draft, the doubleheader to open the NBA season. Ratings, ratings, ratings. I'm going to remind y'all that in the 28-year history of the WNBA, only 9 players in the league's history have eclipsed on-court earnings of $1 million.